second review. Let's see how I do. Hello everyone, Eli here, or as I like to call myself, J.Cole. And let's review J.Cole's new album, For Your Eyez Only. This is the second review on my channel, but it might as well be the first. My first review was, not my best work. Everyone has a starting point, but man, when I rewatched it, I looked at myself like, what the fuck were you thinking, dude? I was so frigid and nervous, I barely did any research. I was so concerned with making it look perfect. It's like, don't become a meme, don't become a meme, don't become a meme. Brushed my hair 15 times, like, oh, gotta look good for those probably only 10 views I'll get considering it's my first video. Pushed everything off my desk like, no clutter, it's gotta look good. Don't give them anything to fault you for besides your opinion. What I realized was missing was personality. This is a personality-driven website, and I put none of it into that review. I just sat there, nervous as all fuck. So I decided to give it another try. And this time with an artist I've never listened to a full album of before, J.Cole. I've been aware of J.Cole since he dropped 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and I didn't listen to it. I don't like the way he sounds most of the time. He just sounds so bored. The one thing I do love is his production. My only takeaway from 2014, though, was No Role Models, and I do love that track, to be fair. I think the production on it is amazing. I actually dig what Cole's talking about on it. But yeah, Cole's never interested me to the point where I'm like, hey, I gotta listen to a full album of his. Until he dropped False Prophets. A song which, let's face it, he used to get attention considering the subject matter. First verse being aimed at Kanye West for the way he's been acting in the public eye recently. Though most people took it as a diss, I kinda saw it more genuine. It seemed to me like Cole was saying, dude, stop. People egging him on and I'm begging him to stop playing his old shit, knowing that he'll never top it. Second verse, he was essentially putting his friend, who turns out to be Wale, which I did not know when I first heard it, on blast for not thinking he's as successful as he should be. J. Cole pretty much says, hey man, I know you think the critics aren't feeling you and people aren't really getting your music, but you do have a fan base, so what's the problem? Now, we definitely dropped this track to stir up some controversy and draw attention towards his then-released album, For Your Eyez Only, which came out the next week. Interestingly enough, False Prophets isn't on there, though you can kind of tell why once you listen to this album. Now, this album is framed as a tape. In case of his death due to the lifestyle he leads, J. Cole's friend leaves a tape for his daughter, explaining who he was, why he did what he did, and where he ended up. It even goes on to explain how he met and fell in love with the mother of the daughter. Now this album starts out on a pretty somber note with the song Whom the Bell Tolls. I do like the beat on here, very sparse. Actually, most of the beats on here are quite sparse. This one is only chimes, really, and a light bit of percussion. The thing that bothers me here, and bothers me through a lot of the album, is J. Cole singing. He is not a strong singer. There are a lot of people who can balance the two, singing and rapping. I find Childish Gambino's quite good at it, Anderson .Paak, but J. Cole, it is not at all his strong suit. Going into the theme on this track, it seems to be the character J. Cole's playing, his 22-year-old friend, knows that death's coming for him soon, and it sounds like he doesn't know where to go because he knows he's going to die, but he has no idea how to escape it. The second track we have here is Immortal, and this kicks off the trap-flavored instrumental obsession that this album tends to have. A flute-driven melody with stereotypical trap percussion, and a simple but anchoring bass line. Still from the perspective of the friend, seems to be discussing the shit he's seen in his life, and how it leads to things like him seeing his friends die, seeing his friends get arrested, waking up with anxiety and panic attacks, being afraid of the police, but he feels as though he has no other choice. Now the second verse is my favorite part of this track, where essentially J. Cole is saying, have you ever seen someone who's so fucking high they're completely out of it? Have you ever watched one of your friends get hauled off to jail? Have you ever had to put a ribbon in the sky for someone who died? And then suddenly he gets really aggressive, which I quite enjoy, and plays the character of one of these people who thinks they're immortal. Where he says, nah man, I'm a king, I got a queen. Pretty corny line about her ass being too wide for a flat screen. But he talks about how he's pretty much a kingpin and he doesn't care that he's selling drugs to people because he's making money, he's rich, people know him. Talks about how he's so powerful that the cops are going to have to drag him out by a SWAT team, and at that point he's become a legend, so What does it matter what wrong he's doing? Third verse, Cole essentially talks about how everyone in the trap has dreams, but none of them are really fulfilled. He says there's only 3 ways for a person to make it out of the hood here. And that's sell dope, rap, or go to the NBA. In that order. Next song we have is Deja Vu, and this is one of my favorite instrumentals on the whole album. That vocal sample is so fucking good. Again, trap-flavored percussion, and it gives the song this nice beat, and I just vibe out to it every time it comes on. I love that vocal sample. It sounds fantastic. Here, though, I have a problem with the lyrical content, and it's because J.Cole's talking about taking another man's woman. He's talking about how he's known her forever. He knows he's in love with her. Well, he figured out that he was in love with her after a while. At first, he had no idea. But the thing is, he knows the guy that she's with, and he's friends with him. And he admits that the guy is good for her. It's not like when a Shawn Mendes treat you better kind of thing. He's full on like, yeah, this guy's good for you. But at the same time, he still goes, hey, here's my number. Put it in your phone when your man ain't paying attention to you. Kinda douchey, Jermaine. Kinda douchey. And at the end of the track, Cole, or the character he's playing, pretty much throws the entire beginning part of the track away when the woman seems to finally decide, hey, maybe he's the right man for me. To which he goes, yeah, but I break promises all the time, and I'm not very reliable, and I mean, you're perfect for me, but I'm probably not the right guy for you anyway. But I mean, it's been fun. Despite all that, though, this song is still one of my favorites, mainly because of that, that vocal sample. Now, the next track is Ville Mentality. Ville Mentality. I'm probably butchering that, and I apologize, J.Cole, if you somehow stumble upon this, and I did. And there isn't much I can say about this one. It's a much more jazz-flavored instrumental. I love the piano on here. Here it seems that we're talking about how he wants to give up this terrible Ville mentality. Again, sorry. First verse, he talks about how he wants to escape and disappear and just get away from all of this. In the second verse, he realizes, nah, this is my life. Kind of an internal conflict thing going on. The only problem is a lot of it's repetitive. He repeats the same line 4 times in the first verse. The second verse is just 2 sets of the same repeated lyrics. The most interesting part about the track is between each verse, we have the character's daughter talking about how she knows her father died, she never went to his funeral, and whenever her mom gets mad at her, she just goes into her room, slams the door, and says, I wish Dad was alive. I believe it's trying to highlight how difficult it is to be a single parent, especially when the other partner is deceased, which I do feel for the woman. It sounds like that kid could use some real discipline, but it was kind of jarring and it threw me off because the kid sounds so smug and like such a brat on it. Up next we have part 1 of And She's Mine, and this is one of the most gorgeous instrumentals on the album. It's mainly just piano and these beautiful strings that dart in and out, and it's so good. Here though, J.Cole singing again throws me off. I'm sorry, it doesn't sound good. At least not to me. Sounds like he's really stretching his own vocal cords and trying to hit notes that he kinda can't. It's not a register that works for him at all. Though I do like what the track's about. He's falling in love. He wants to share all of his dark secrets with this woman. He wants to talk about his youth. He wants to talk about what made him the man he is now. He wants to build a life with her. He's no longer ready to die. He wanted to die at one point just to get out of the lifestyle he was in, and now he wants to stay because he has this woman. Interesting thing here is the outro. When I first heard it, I was kind of thrown off because it goes, she gets him, you get me, she hugs him, you kiss me. I thought maybe it had to do with the Deja Vu track and it being that he had stolen the other guy's woman, but she was still kind of with him. But when I was reading the lyrics on Genius, I went to one of the annotations, and their theory of it was it's a parallel between Cole's story and his friend's story. Because while this track is about his friend, Cole also has a wife and now a newborn son. So it is believed that it is paralleling Cole's love story with his wife with his friend's love story. Up next we have Change, and this is one of the more frustrating moments on the album for me. This one to me sounds like it's from Cole's perspective. He's talking about, at least on the first couple of verses, God, and how he's okay with dying now, and he accepts the sinful life he has because he knows God will forgive him anyway. I do not like the examples he uses here. The killing a man one I understand, but he says the stuff that makes a man beat his wife because of the pain that he feels. And I can't really get behind that. Mainly because I don't think there's any reason for anyone to beat their wife, no matter how screwed up they are. Though I do understand it happens, and I get the sentiment that he was going for. And on the bridge he was talking about he remembers when people used to fight, but now everyone just pops the trunk and pulls out a gun, and it's turned the city into poison, as he calls it, and caused a bloodshed and made it a battlefield. And in the fourth verse, which is why I think it's from Cole's perspective, he discusses his 22-year-old friend the album is about dying. And while it is a heartfelt sentiment, what gets me here is the outro. He does what sounds like he's trying to do a news report, but he just kind of fumbles through it as his vocals fade out and then back in and then out again. And then he does the same thing pretending to be a preacher with this weird, like, fake sounding crying in the background. And none of it sounded genuine. None of it at all sounded genuine. Next we have one of my standout tracks, Neighbors. Back to a trap style beat on this one. This is another break, like the last track seems to be, from the actual narrative of the story. It's about J.Cole buying a house in a neighborhood that I guess black people don't particularly buy houses, because when he moves in, his neighbors assume he's selling dope and they call the police on him, which is apparently a true story. Very kind of pathetic true story, really. Apparently the police, when they raided it, all they found was a recording studio. That's what you get for assuming you made an ass out of yourself. Well done, neighbors. Well done. I do love the fucking hook on this song. It's the neighbors think I'm selling dope. And when it ends it with this very sassy, well, motherfucker, I am. It's the outro, though, that gets me here, because he says, so much for integration. I'm moving back to Southside. Seems like moving here was a mistake because people are prejudiced. Track number 8, we have another very frustrating moment for me, Folding Clothes. I love this beat. Love the bass and the guitar that flutters in and out throughout the entire song. And this song is cute, but boring, at least to me. Back in the character of the 22-year-old, Cole is talking about being in love. Essentially, the woman's 9 months pregnant, she's sleeping on the couch. He's like, hey, I'll fold the clothes for her. And I guess that's the whole hook. And I believe it's meant to be taken as he's supposed to be this thug gangster who's lived in the drug lifestyle his entire life, and this is not something he'd ever see himself doing. As evidenced by the second verse, where he's quite descriptively eating Raisin Bran with bananas and almond milk, and he never thought he'd ever see himself having almond milk. Too fancy for the hood. I get the sentiment on this track. It just bores me. It doesn't interest me to hear about all the shows on Netflix you need to catch up on with your woman. And I really kind of think the chorus is corny. Again, I get the sentiment. The only thing that redeems this track for me would be the outro, where he talks about how people from the hood are the best actors because they have to act hard, and whenever they show vulnerability or softness, it's shown as a weakness. And how with his friends in the hood, he has to talk differently than he would with his woman or at a job interview. And it's a very interesting idea. Kind of sad, too. Not allowed to, be yourself. You have to act hard all the time, or else you're seen as too soft. Next is She's Mine Part 2, and we have one of the most beautiful instrumentals on the album. It almost reminds me of like a jazz lounge bar with the way the piano is. Beautiful strings on this one again too. And here we have Cole in a different kind of love. He's in love with his daughter. It's actually quite an adorable track, though it gets kind of weirdly sidetracked. He starts off talking about how much he cares about his daughter and how he's sitting on the bus thinking about her, and then he goes into he wishes he could make all the evil go away, but that would also make Santa Claus go away because he was made by greedy corporations to sell things that poor people can't actually afford. And then his daughter has a dirty diaper, so his focus is pulled from that to the diaper. The diaper part, though, was kind of funny because he goes, oh, you better not pee on me because when you're older and you're throwing a tantrum about how everything should be your way, I'm going to have fun getting a little bit of revenge in. Adorable track, he's talking about how much of a gift his daughter is, and then there's a part in the second verse that I really like where he gets really emotional and he's like, where he goes, fuck this album, mama, look what God made. And then he says that he doesn't want to die now because now he has the most important gift in life to live for. The album takes on a kind of heartbreaking tone, at least to me, when it gets to the final track, For Your Eyez Only. Because right away with the first verse, you realize that this person has fallen back into the lifestyle that they tried so hard to get away from so they could be there for their daughter. Now he's trying so hard to find a job, but he just can't because the market's so hard, and he is falling again into this trap. Here's where the message of the album is revealed. He admits that this is a song he's making for his daughter, and he says, well, you're probably older now, so this'll hit you and you'll understand what it means, but I'm probably not there. He says, I know how you feel. My father also was killed, and he knows death is coming, and he's sorry that he wasn't there to see any of her moments growing up. And he hopes to God she doesn't find a man like him. On the fourth verse, Cole comes in. saying that he called him. I was like, man, I don't think I have much left. I have to ask you a favor. And it's to give the daughter this tape. He doesn't tell Cole much after that, but Cole knows that something's wrong. He pretty much thanks Cole for being a good friend of his, thanks him for letting him stay on his couch back when they lived in a good situation because he lived with his grandma and it was a trap house, and that's how we got introduced to the lifestyle in the first place. And Cole goes on to say that her dad was one of the best people he had ever known because he loved her with all of his heart. I was actually surprised with how much I enjoy this album. Honestly, truly surprised. About the second or third listen is when it actually hit me and I started to really get enthralled in the story. And all in all, despite the inconsistencies I talked about and some of the lyrical flops I don't like, it is still a pretty solid album and I give it a 7 out of 10. I recommend it if you're a rap fan and if you enjoy Cole. If you're ever stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to leave a comment or some feedback telling me what I could do to improve, please by all means do. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again, hopefully. Because he goes, oh, you better not pee on me because when you're older and you really want something, oh, you better not pee on me. Can you imagine it being taken completely out of context? Like, you better not pee on me. I hope if someone stumbles upon this, just cuts that. I moved away, I needed privacy, surrounded by the trees and Ivy League. Students that's recruited higher league, thinking you do you and I do me. Crib has got a big old backyard. My niggas stand outside and pass cigars, filled with marijuana, laughing hard. Thankful that they